Hey everyone, thanks for watching, and welcome to another episode of the Gamecast Weekly News Roundup, where I bring you some of the biggest gaming news that you may have missed. I'm your host, Rob Cray. First off, I'd like to start off by congratulating publisher Take-Two Interactive and developer Rockstar Games on the success of Grand Theft Auto V. New sales numbers show that GTA V has sold a whopping 32.5 million units. That makes GTA V not only the best-selling video game of 2013, but places it at number 6 in the top 10 best-selling video games of all time. In case you're wondering, Wii Sports holds the number 1 spot, coming in at 81 million units sold. It's also worth mentioning that Nintendo games actually account for 8 of the top 10 games on that list. And while we're on the subject of Nintendo, the company has announced that it has completed a $1.1 billion stock buyback that comes out to around 9.5 million shares, or 7.4% of their outstanding stock. A large amount of that stock was bought back from the Yamauchi family. Hiroshi Yamauchi is the former Nintendo CEO who was responsible for changing the company from a card game manufacturer into one of the world's most successful video game companies. The stock buyback, of course, comes after Nintendo's recent financial losses from their failed Wii U console. President Satoru Iwata says the company is now looking into new areas of sales and marketing for the company moving forward. He didn't exactly specify what that meant, though as I've mentioned in the past couple of Gamecast episodes, this may include a recently announced smartphone app and possibly even a series of rumored new consoles called the Nintendo Fusion. And while Nintendo's fiscal situation may not be looking that good, it seems some enterprising eBay sellers are trying to better their own financial situation by profiting off the popularity of the Flappy Bird fad. If you haven't been following the Flappy Bird drama over the past week, then I'll bring you up to speed. Flappy Bird is a popular smartphone game that went from complete obscurity to an international sensation virtually overnight. Its popularity brought a lot of international attention to its developer, Dong Nagoyan, who asked the media to leave him alone. At its height last week, the game was making the developer as much as $50,000 a day in profit from ad revenue, and the app was downloaded more than 50 million times. The fame and fortune evidently proved to be too much for Mr. Nagoyan to handle. He announced that he would be taking the game down and kept his word, officially taking the game down Sunday afternoon. Almost immediately, people began posting auctions for used smartphones that had the game pre-installed. Right now, one seller has an auction with a current bid of over $1,700 and a buy it now price of a mere $20,000. This is for an iPhone 5S that has the game installed. But once again, I'm going to chalk this up to internet trolls making bids. But if anyone's interested, I do have an iPhone 5 with Flappy Bird installed, and I'll sell it to you for a mere $15,000. Just let me know. And while eBay sellers are trying to make a quick buck off the popularity of Flappy Bird, that seems to be exactly what Metal Gear Solid creator Hideo Kojima and Konami are doing with the upcoming release of Metal Gear Solid 5 Ground Zeroes. Several reports have emerged from game reviewers that Ground Zeroes campaign can be beat in only 2 hours. Now I don't know about you, but I was super excited for this game up to this point. Anyone who's ever played a Metal Gear Solid game knows that they're pretty heavy on the cutscenes, so I'm hoping that this 2 hours of gameplay isn't taking that into consideration. It's also worth mentioning that Ground Zeroes is not a full-fledged Metal Gear title. It's actually meant to serve as a prologue to the full Metal Gear Solid 5 The Phantom Pain game, which is scheduled to be released in 2015. Ground Zeroes releases on March 18th in the US and March 20th in Europe. The game will cost $29.99 on Xbox 360 and PS3, but will cost $39.99 on PS4 and Xbox One. Seems a little pricey for what sounds like a glorified demo if you ask me. I'd like to know what you guys think about this whole ordeal. Are you planning to buy Ground Zeroes? Let me know by leaving a comment below. And while Metal Gear Solid 5 Ground Zeroes will be breaking gamers' wallets, news about a popular video game music composer is breaking gamers' hearts. It turns out that deaf Japanese composer Mamoru Samuraguchi is a fraud. Samuraguchi is well known for creating the scores to games like Resident Evil and Onimusha, so well respected that he's even been called the Beethoven of Japan. Well, it turns out that Samuraguchi never actually composed the music himself. Instead, he revealed that he used a ghost composer since 1996. Samuraguchi's lawyers say that he feels, quote, deeply sorry, and that he knows he cannot make up any excuses for what he's done. The ghost composer has not yet been named, but at least we know that they did receive a commission for their work. Now on to some other disappointing news for gamers. Microsoft has announced that the Xbox 360 version of Titanfall will not ship alongside the Xbox One version when it releases in March. The Xbox One version of the game, of course, is being developed by Respawn Entertainment, a company formed by several former founding members of Call of Duty developer Infinity Ward. The Xbox 360 version, on the other hand, is being developed by another company, Austin, Texas-based developer Blue Point Games. Blue Point is known for developing HD re-release game collections like the Metal Gear Solid HD Collection and God of War Collection. Titanfall on the 360 was originally scheduled to be released on March 11th alongside the Xbox One version, but it will now be pushed back a couple of weeks to March 25th in the US and March 28th in Europe. And I've also got some potentially disappointing news for gamers who are looking forward to Monolith Productions' new Lord of the Rings game, Middle-earth: Shadow of Mordor. You may recall I mentioned this game in our first episode. The game is especially notable because its gameplay looks almost exactly like that of Assassin's Creed. Well, it turns out that the game will be released on just about every major platform other than the Wii U. And for those of you who are hoping for a multiplayer mode, it turns out that the game will feature a single-player campaign only. No word yet on a release date for the game, but it's scheduled to be released sometime this year. And in the last bit of our series of disappointing news, the next story is probably a bit more subjectively disappointing. As you may have heard, Sega's iconic mascot Sonic the Hedgehog has gotten a bit of a makeover. The developer of the newest Sonic game, called Sonic Boom, revealed their new design for Sonic, Tails, and Knuckles during a press conference, and almost immediately gamers took to the web to show their disapproval. The most common complaint seems to be that Sonic's legs are now unnaturally long, and that he wears a scarf that resembles the one worn by Nathan Drake in Naughty Dog's Uncharted series. It turns out the redesign is part of a new multimedia campaign that includes not only games, but a new animated TV series as well. More interesting is that Sonic Boom will be the first Sonic game not developed by Japanese developer Sonic Team, and will not be released in Japan. Instead, for the first time, the new Sonic game is being developed by an American company called Big Red Button Entertainment, based out of Los Angeles. The company was formed by some former Naughty Dog designers, so I guess that explains the scarf. Sega says the redesign was intended to make Sonic more appealing to Western audiences. Sonic Boom will be released exclusively on the Wii U and the 3DS, no word on a release date yet. And big news for fans of Activision's Call of Duty series, the publisher has revealed that the popular annual franchise is moving from a 2-year to a 3-year development cycle. Traditionally, games in the series have been developed by either Infinity Ward or Treyarch, with each developer releasing a game in the franchise every other year. It turns out that this year's title will be coming from Sledgehammer Games. Sledgehammer isn't exactly new to the series. They actually co-developed Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3 alongside Infinity Ward. This year's COD title has not yet been revealed, but Activision says the game will be the first Call of Duty title that's being designed primarily for next-gen platforms. They say the new development cycle will allow developers to, quote, have the time to innovate, iterate, and bring the best creative vision and the most possible polish to each and every game. Despite the new game being next-gen oriented, last-gen gamers need not worry. The game will also be releasing on PS3 and Xbox 360 when it launches later this year. And for our last story today, it looks like the rumors that Amazon may be entering the console market seem to have received more confirmation after the company acquired a fairly big-name game development studio. Amazon has confirmed that it has acquired Double Helix Games. You may recognize Double Helix as the company that most recently developed the Killer Instinct reboot on Xbox One. Double Helix was formed in 2007 by the merger of two well-known game development studios, including The Collective and Shiny Entertainment, who developed games like Enter the Matrix, MDK, and Earthworm Jim. It's been rumored that Amazon is working on an Android-based console that they hope will compete directly with Sony, Microsoft, and Nintendo. No word yet on how much the acquisition cost or what games will come out of the deal. Alright guys, I want to thank you for watching. Here at Gamecast, we're dedicated to bringing you the latest gaming news and much more. So please follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and of course subscribe to our channel here on YouTube. That's youtube.com/GamecastNews. I'll be back next week with more news, so be sure to tune in to the Gamecast. Oh wait, don't go yet, there's more. How about a little video game trivia? Let's see how well you guys really know your game history. First, I have to answer last week's question. Did you know the answer? The Sony PlayStation actually has its origins as far back as 1988. Sony and Nintendo had teamed up to create a CD-ROM based add-on for the Super Famicom, also known as the Super NES here in the US. The deal ended up falling through when Nintendo ditched Sony for a new partnership with Philips. Out of spite, PlayStation creator Ken Kutaragi decided to move forward with the PlayStation as a standalone console. The rest, as they say, is history. and as we now know, the PlayStation went on to become a huge success. Now on to this week's question. Microsoft's Xbox has become one of the most popular video game consoles in the history of video games, but few people seem to know where its name comes from. So where exactly does the X in Xbox come from? Does it stand for X-rated, Extreme, Exhilarating, or DirectX? I'll have the answer in next week's show. And before you go, here's a list of some notable games that will be available in stores this week.